I have to make another, whoops, antinatalism video. Yeah, this is just so bad, Pyrrho. He's just so intellectually dishonest. I mean, besides being just an evil person, a reckless, mindless rationalizer of his selfishness, he's just such a complete and utter asshole. There's no way he could believe or be this ignorant. There's no way he could be as ignorant as he talks in these videos. He's heard the counter arguments and he just pretends they don't exist. I mean, it's just so fucking dishonest. So I'll start at about, I don't know, 45 minutes in, because he really doesn't start very well. Just talking about his, well, I'm a logical person and so blah blah blah. I mean, he's an egomaniac. Did I say that? Yeah, he's an egomaniac. He's reckless. He's sadistic, and he has no intellectual integrity. He is, yeah, he's just a piece of shit.
Positive way to discuss this issue is suicide. One of the dangers would be, you know, if an antinatalist goes, you're right. With this philosophy, you should just commit suicide. He does it. That would be depressing. So just
no, it's not even close to anything to do with the subject. The subject is about your right to impose your phantasmagorical, fanny-packy, bizarrely strange attitude that you think DNA is doing the right thing, and you're gonna create new ones and throw them into the world. It's your right to, let's say, raise rabbits that you know, have a genetic disposition to get cancer in 4 weeks. Would you have a right to raise that breed of rabbit? No, you wouldn't. It's only a sadistic, motherfucking lunatic would do that. Alright, it's your arrogance that is the subject, asshole. Not the suicide of the antinatalist, or the depression of the antinatalist, or the life decision of the antinatalist. That's not the subject, asshole. The subject is your fucking behavior.
Suggesting suicide with pro-suicide people is especially like, no thank you. I would like you to figure that out without my involvement.
Oh, like you would like to be uninvolved in a superficial, irrelevant conversation on planet Earth? Well, guess what? I'd like to be uninvolved in your phantasmagorical, let's build a rickety roller coaster and put kids on it and, you know, make it so it perpetuates itself forever, and they'll put their kids on it, and they'll put their kids on it, and they'll put their kids on it. Bullshit.
I feel somewhat frustrated. So, whereas with antinatalists, their heart is in the right place. They don't want to kill anybody, including themselves, per se. Maybe want is the wrong word, but, you know, it's not like they're hanging that thread over anybody's head, so that's, I think, good. So I like to continue to
yeah, right, but you'll continue to hang your little threats, right? Like you made one. You said, oh, you're going to lose anyway because I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. So you're the one who's the evil, motherfucking, obnoxious, threatening imposer. You're a fucking imposer of your will on other people. And then you'll have the obnoxious arrogance to point your finger at someone else and say they don't have a right to impose on you. Outrageous conduct. Fuck you.
think about it. In reality, I'm thinking about other things, you know, that relate to this. And then in this conversation, I can express the tip of the iceberg that it really represents.
Yeah, you can't even get close to what it really represents. You can't even get simple arguments like when somebody else is talking about a gambling analogy, okay, that they're not talking about whether you enjoy losing money, okay? That's how you respond. I enjoy losing money. So we're back to the boulder rolling down the hill. Okay, you don't have a right to push a boulder up a hill and let it roll over somebody else. Now, if you want to stand underneath the boulder and let it roll over you all day long, that's your business. But that's not what you're doing, asshole. Okay, when you lose at this casino, I pay the price, you stupid cunt.
Now, the first thing is You know, I fancy myself a logician. I work.
Yeah, you fancy yourself. You should have just stopped with "I fancy myself," because you have a preposterously outrageous ego. And it's so outrageous that even when you hear a counter-argument 10 times, you still can't let it in, just because it might force you to admit you're full of fucking shit.
I think as a logician, I have a philosophy degree, so I'm trained in...
Right. You're a logician, and you'll talk about how you like to watch boulders rolling down hills when somebody's talking about, like, say, murder or, you know, life and death decisions, and you'll just answer the question with "I like to watch boulders roll down hills." That's not exactly logician caliber fucking argument. Fail.
So I'm kind of cocky.
Yeah, stop right there again. That's right. You're an arrogant, egomaniacal, cocky asshole.
In this one area, I feel I'm a competent logician.
I feel. Yeah, well, too bad. I don't think you are. I think you're an illogical rationalizer of entire and complete bullshit.
And I can follow things through. You know, it's one thing to make a logical argument of it, but to really study the logic of it, you have to take the principles you've used and see what other arguments.
Yeah, well, you haven't even you won't even come close to the principles. Again, you won't admit that you having a kid is a decision. You won't admit that it's an imposition. You're just saying my skin cells did it. You're blaming it on something else. You're taking no responsibility or accountability. It's an outrageous violation of fundamental logic. Okay, people, the next generation exists because people like you decide to force it to exist. It's not there for any other reason but your decision. All right, that's the logical, that's a premise you can't run away from, and it's critical to doing the logic. So obviously you haven't seen the iceberg, you haven't seen the quacking duck, you haven't seen a single blade of grass almost of this argument. You are so off subject, it's preposterous.
Reconstructed. And yet it's the antinatalists that are just, you know, boo-boo is, like, we're the Black Knight. We just won't face that we've been wounded.
Yeah, well, whatever. That's right. You've run the fuck away from the argument. Again, how are you not making the decision? How are you not imposing the decision? You are not gambling with your nuts. You're gambling with a new consciousness. And to deny that it's a new consciousness is the most illogical, nonsensical, putrid pile of mush there can be. Either defend your arrogant right, okay, to impose your judgment on my destiny, or, yeah, that's it, or be an irrational runawayer from the truth, because that's what you're doing. You're the imposer. You are the imposition. Justify what you do. Don't pretend you haven't done it.
And, I mean, is there a double meaning there, like, that life is miserable and we've been wounded, but also that we've been wounded in this argument? Or
yeah, again, we. It's not about you. It's about the me's. It's about the people who are really sick of coming back to this shitty amusement park because irresponsible people like yourself keep dragging kids to it and strapping them in to your crazy coaster of silly boulder rolling.
You know, derived energy is just mocking us through the God persona he created character.
Yeah, he's not just mocking you, he's mocking the simplicity of the argument and asking you to provide a rational response, which none of you have done. You can't answer simple questions. How many people would make it acceptable? How many impositions are you willing to perpetrate? Objections. How many, a lot of these people born because of your judgment can't even raise their hand and say no mas. They can't even say fuck you. All right, so you only get a tiny percentage of them that you'll actually hear from once in a while who will say, fuck you, from the cage you've put them in. Because you can't build a responsible nest, because you can't make a better world before you force people to live in your squalor and your shit and your silly city on a hill Reaganomic bullshit. You're just a crayon drawing, soap selling, propaganda selling Reaganite.
Bashful creatures, I just don't get it. And yet I don't think you see the ramifications. See, you use the logic for this one asymmetrical argument, but look at how this works. Okay, I'll tell you. For example, and this leads to an absurd conclusion.
Yeah, absurd. No. See, he's going to play this game. Like, because if I can twist and turn the variables, and I can change the thought experiment, I can make it seem like a top is spinning on the side of the wall. Alright, because I'm going to break the rules, I'm going to change the speed of light, or I'm going to change gravity, or I'm going to change some major, a fundamental constituent, or I'm basically just going to lie about a circumstance. So that's all you're going to do here, Pyro. You're not going to answer the question intellectually, honestly. You're going to contrive a piece, you're going to carve yourself a little crayon drawing of missiles shooting down missiles. A little space shield.
You're probably not being that logical. Say, well, that makes no sense. Yeah, well, reduction to absurdity. Reductio ad absurdum. Reduction to absurdity. You take the
yeah. Like I said, you're on the wrong side of all of that. You haven't made one rational argument on this subject yet. Everything you're claiming, your boulder rolling, every bit of it can all be reducto absurdity you into complete oblivion as anything other than an irresponsible, arrogant, ignorant, stupid motherfucker.
Same principles. Now you go on and on about how you can't deprive someone that doesn't exist. So that means then if I stab a person and they die in a few seconds, they bleed out and die in a number of seconds.
Right, and if you do that to, somebody's going to be diagnosed with terminal cancer in 2 days, you've probably done them a favor. But ignoring that, the point is you now are deciding to impose your judgment. You're saying your brain knows better than their brain regarding the value of their life. So again, you've committed an imposition of authority over somebody else's destiny. Now, as a practical fact, it's an unknown whether the person would be better off, because you haven't explained what their death would have been, what their life would have been. Maybe they would have been a drunk driver. Maybe they would have been Einstein. You haven't explained that. So your absurdity is in the fact that you compare it to nothing.
As soon as they're dead, there's nothing for me to deprive anymore. So once they're dead...
Anymore, exactly. So, yeah, exactly. So, look, you don't think people do this all the time? They say, don't revive me, okay? They write it down in a medical form. No resuscitation. So they're basically saying, yeah, if I'm close enough to being dead, don't fucking undead me, please. People do that all the fucking time. The point is the only thing wrong with your thought experiment is that we don't know what the real life would have been. So we can't make a comparison about whether you've done somebody a favor or not done them a favor. And two, you've committed a socially unacceptable crime where you've imposed your brain authority over somebody else of equal authority. And that you're not allowed to do.
And so in a way I haven't deprived anything of life.
Alright, you just killed somebody but you didn't deprive anybody of life. That doesn't make any sense.
I am right, because I can only do that while it's alive. As soon as it's dead, there's nothing.
Oh, apparently you meant I haven't imposed suffering on anybody. Well, you did in the sense that you killed them. But let's say you killed them really, really quick. You got them right in the jugular, they're dead. Yeah, okay. Again, let's hear the harm equation. We're not the ones claiming there's a harm. We're claiming there's a violation of the social contract. But until you explain what the person's going to have missed, or what their contribution to the world would have been, we can't tell what the harm was. I mean, if they would have got Alzheimer's 10 years later and spent 10 years in a nursing home babbling, then again, you might have done them a favor.
Nothing to deprive. So I might have deprived it right at the instance of death. But what if I could save the person? So I said, oh no, I should save the person. And then I take them to the hospital and they have 6 months of horrible pain and then they recover.
Yeah, well, that's another ethical question. So maybe you should separate those two questions. What if you find a horribly broken animal on the side of the road? I mean, it's got 3 broken legs, you know, its spine is crushed, it's only got a 1% chance of survival, and even if it does survive, it'll probably be paralyzed. Would you save it? Would you take it to a vet and force it to go through a whole bunch of pain and surgeries and nonsense? Or would you, as ethically as possible, euthanize it?
But for all I know, it's just like any other antinatalist question. They could go on to have a terrible, terrible misery in life. Furthermore, they specifically had 3 months of suffering in the hospital instead of just a few seconds.
Yeah, again, like I said, you're making my argument, okay? But the point you're still not getting is that you don't have the right to do the stabbing, and you don't have the right to take, and you don't have the right to give. Both of those are wrongs, right off the bat, okay? Because you're violating somebody else's potential will. All right, so fuck you.
Okay, so according to antinatalism, if I do stab someone, because by the time I've stabbed them, you know, all that pain, that's all equal in all the situations, it's more ethical to let them die in a few seconds than to, I should make sure they don't die.
Right. Again, you can mock that scenario as if that's preposterous or absurd, but of course it's not. So it's a real issue. It's a real question. If you've done enough damage, then yeah, the right thing to do is probably to finish it off than to, you know, extend the damage even further. This is irrelevant, though, to the subject. Why don't you do a thought experiment about some crazy motherfucker who's decided he has the authority to do crazy experiments with other animals' welfare? Do that thought experiment. But no, that's the one you keep running from, because that's the one directly focused at you.
So, you can study something compared to the real world. In fact, you have to. Oh, huh? But I was just figured out something logical, and it's so true that I could just follow it. No, you didn't do.
Again, you haven't pointed out any absurdity here. You haven't pointed out any problem whatsoever. The only problem would be a lack of information. If you don't have any information on what the person's destiny is, then it's really hard to make a determination about what's in their best interest. Okay, but yes, an antinatalist or you at the scene of an accident is probably going to have a different judgment about what the right thing to do is. So we see a motorcycle victim on the road and it's half his brain is, you know, down there. Yeah, but he's still alive. Okay, yeah, I'm going to decide, well, really, don't resuscitate. And maybe you're going to sit there and do mouth to mouth and say, oh, but you know, he might stay in the hospital for 10 years and someday he might say peanut butter. You know, fuck you. I think I did the right thing and I think you would have done the wrong thing.
Use logic from your experiences in the real world. How things unfold in the real world, you analyze that, found patterns, and that is your life.
Yeah, you're nowhere even close to the real world. You won't admit that in the real world, when you make a baby together with a woman, that you're making a conscious, deliberate decision to impose life on a new being. You won't admit that fundamental, basic fact. And you're going to talk to anybody about something called the real world. You don't live in the real world. Whatever. Fantasy pants.
So when you come up with something to apply back onto the world, yeah, you can check if it's absurd. Like, for example...
See, now, so he's already got this presumption built in that there's some absurdity. So, like, somehow antinatalism has a top spinning on the side of the wall. No such thing has happened. No catastrophe to the theory has been demonstrated. You've accomplished no such illustration of absurdity. This is a real question. There are people you could kill in this world, Pyro, and you've done the human race a favor. It's a fact. It's not a fiction. It's a fact. The point is, we don't think it's right for people to make those decisions, and also we just can't know enough information to know who needs the killing.
Trick seems, who I like, but it seems to have a difficulty understanding a distinction between a Nazi kicking someone and you tripping and breaking your toe. The pain is the same suffering, and the only value is something this or something that.
Well, we've already been over this whole Nazi dumbass example before. Again, pain that has no gain tied to it. And if the Nazi is not edified by his stubbed toe, then it's just more pain on planet Earth. It just adds one more piece of pain to all the pain that's experienced by sentience on planet Earth. It is completely and entirely negative. Now, if the guard learns compassion for Jews through his stubbed toe, then it's valuable pain because it's going to prevent more pain in the future. Again, understand, pain is the economy. If you can reduce it, you have done a plus.
Like, these distinctions are hard to make if you don't believe in free will. It just happened. Okay, so that's a weight on those systems. Now,
if you don't believe in free will, it just happened. Now, see there, you've made a completely illogical string of words you've put together there. All right, if you believe in free will, then things just happen. If you don't believe in free will, then you believe in cause and effect, and it didn't just happen.
Systems have certain decisions that are hard for them to make. Like, I can't decide if it's right or wrong to eat a dog, but I can live with those. Now, can you live?
Yeah, well, we're not talking about your right, again, to decide that you have a bigger brain than a dog, and you can make decisions about dog welfare. All right, we're talking about your right in a world where you know, okay, that human beings will be born into lives they didn't appreciate having. I am evidence of one of those human beings, okay, and I don't have my skin outside, on the floor. I don't have my brain outside my skull. I don't have any of that stuff, but I, with a deep, hard passion, resent being here. Alright, and you have to account for that fact because you're the imposer. You know it's the possibility, and you're saying, I will impose my superficial, silly recklessness on you. Not because I have to, not because I need to, but because, well, I wouldn't say need, not because there is any necessity, okay, just because I'm an arrogant fucker.
Fact that your system doesn't justify saving a person. It doesn't justify thinking twice and going, because your system's based on pain.
Again, saving a person. Why again? This is absurd. It's absurd not to save a person. So any person who writes on a form, don't resuscitate, you shouldn't allow them to do that. They're not allowed not to force somebody to save them. Yeah, fuck you. You're the absurd one. You're the one who doesn't have any respect for logic.
At that point, the least pain is for them to die, and the decision of saving their life is analogous to the natalism question, because I have to ask, is it worth having them live? I will not, if I do not save them.
Look, as a practical fact, okay, if we lived in a world that had no negatives in it, so there was nothing for you to clean up, so you couldn't fix something in somebody else's life, you couldn't save somebody else from suffering, then there'd be no way for us as individuals to generate any positive value from the world. We couldn't gain any points by cleaning up other messes. So then the question becomes grotesquely easy to answer. It's only because we live in a complex world where there is a huge mess to clean up, where even though my life might suck and I might hate it, I might be incredibly valuable because I might be a very good janitor. I might be very good at cleaning up, preventing miseries in other people. So even though I myself would be miserable and I would resent my existence would be hugely productive because I would be cleaning up other messes created by other fucking retards like yourself. And the truth of the matter is, the actual fact of the matter is, that there might actually be serial killers in the world who do, in fact, create a net benefit through their obnoxious, selfish, irresponsible, insane behavior. because they actually do kill a Hitler before he becomes Hitler. Just by accident, but it's a fact. They do it.
And not depriving them of the life that they would have had after the death they actually had, because they don't exist then. And even if I go back in time...
Well, you can't keep pretending that this thought experiment has something to do with the real world, okay? You've already violated something with an equal authority, okay? You've violated their authority, as you're apt to do. Again, you can't even recognize that you're violating, okay, other people's rights when you gamble with their welfare. When they pay the price for your roll of the dice, when they ended up hit by your boulder rolling, that you're being irresponsible. So, I mean, there's no point in talking about logic when you can't accept a fundamental, like, solid as gravity premise to this argument.
You know, it's like right at that moment I'm culpable, and after, it seems to be, wait a second, that person doesn't exist anymore. I can't...
Culpability never ends, okay? As soon as you influence, you're culpable, and your culpability extends to every implication. You save a guy from dying. He has kids. He has a whole destiny and future impact on the world. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you are culpable.
Deprive them of anything. So, your logical arguments, just, there's a million things like that. You just
no, there's no things like, well, there are a million things like that, which is complete rubbish, rationalizations, ignore the facts, call something that is not absurd, absurd. I mean, that's just so easy to, oh, it's absurd. And I want to explain why, but you can see it, right? This is absurd. Look, it's kind of weird and strange, and yeah, it's absurd. Trust me, it's absurd. No, it's not absurd. You are absurd.
You haven't thought about it. You have to take your principle that
no.
you believe in so much.
Look, again, you haven't even gotten simple analogies. Just raw, crude, simple ones that you're not gambling with your fucking money at the casino. You can't even get that right, okay? And so you have no business telling other people what they might have missed.
You should apply it all over and see what some of its, unfortunate ramifications are, and then
you haven't explained an unfortunate ramification yet, okay, of not having a child. So again, you fail again. You haven't explained the unfortunate ramification, okay, of antinatalist behavior. You haven't. You've explained the unfortunate consequences of perhaps stabbing somebody. Now, those aren't the same thing. So again, you have failed to make a rational argument on the fucking subject.
You have to design part of your system to accommodate that reality.
No. You have to accommodate reality in your pretend made-up bullshit pile of shit description of the system. You haven't described the system. Okay, guess what? A baby isn't your skin cells molting.
But that's secondary to the fact that in reality, the real issue is that you can't decide for someone else whether
yeah, well, isn't that such a joke? Okay, the whole antinatalist position is that exact statement. You can't decide for somebody else that they have to, number one, appreciate your judgment being imposed on them, but yes, that they will have to pay for your reckless, irresponsible, and sloppy behavior. And again, this is in the context of a world where people have done absolutely nothing, essentially, except for a few outstanding characters. The average human has done absolutely nothing to make this a better world. They have not built any nests. They just keep laying eggs in piles of dog shit, and they keep looking at it and saying, well, the next generation will do it better. Fuck you, you evil cunt.
Life is worth living. If you don't understand that, you're missing a basic humanism, and as far as I'm concerned, a kind of inherent compassion. But
no, you lack the compassion. Again, you're the one minimizing the suffering. You're the one saying, I like living in shit. I like boulders rolling over my head. I like pain, therefore you should like pain. You're the one who has no empathy and no compassion, who is accepting the huge, gigantic risk price that is going to be paid for your silly, obnoxious behavior. You're like an architect who builds a whole community right on a beach, and he knows it's a 20-year flood zone. He knows it's all going to be wiped away someday, and he's just saying, well, that's just the price of fun. Okay, we're all going to have fun for 20 years, and then, yeah, whoever is stupid enough to be on the beach on that bad day, yeah, they get killed. Fuck them. And they watch their kid drowned. Yeah, it'll be really fun. Fuck you. You're a goddamn snake oil selling motherfucking rationalizer of complete rubbish, and therefore you're fucking evil. You might as well be a little, you might as well have a little Reagan shiny city on a hill that your selling hat on.
Used to people not noticing that. I think it's funny that compassionately motivated, somewhat liberal people would come from that angle, but I am used to those kinds of...
Yeah, well, you aren't anywhere close to any of that shit. Okay, you won't acknowledge any truth because you have to keep rationalizing your behavior, your procreation, your abuse of animals. You just keep rationalizing every motherfucking goddamn flaw in your fucking value equations because they impact other people, and you just don't give a fuck because you're too important. Your genetic code must be continued because it has pyrrho314. Retard.
People. I feel that this idea that life is miserable is your own personal decision to make. But like the Catholic Church, I don't...
No, don't even go near that religious crap. And it's not about life being miserable. Again, so you can't even paraphrase the argument correctly. I bet I've had more fun with my penis in my lifetime than you have. I bet I have. I bet I have had more comfortable moments, maybe even. Joyful moments. I bet I've had better ecstasy. I bet I've climbed higher mountains than you. That's not the argument. The argument isn't this idea that I'm not sitting around all day fucking moping, asshole. Get a clue. Life isn't like, oh, you had a happy life or you had a sad life. It doesn't work that way, retard. Again, you're going to talk about how you apply your magnificent brains to analyzing systems, and you can't even get that there's no fucking way you can describe a life that way. A life, it can last, 100 fucking years of experiences. You just can't sum them up with stupid little words like happy and sad. It just isn't applicable. It's irrational nonsense, you motherfucker. This isn't about misery. It's about stupidity. I don't like living on a planet where stupid people do stupid things and just keep rationalizing their stupid behavior for no good fucking reason. We know what we are. We're just goddamn scheming maggots. Alright? I don't like being a scheming maggot and would like the freedom not to exist ever again. Please.
A view that life is inherently sinful, miserable, and wretched.
No, life is inherently consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. Again, 4 fucking words you just run the fuck away from. Fuck you.
Something you can push on another person.
Oh yeah, exactly. You can't. You can't justify that behavior. You have no evidence that it's a cost-effective equation, and once again, this gambling isn't at your personal risk. It's at somebody else's personal risk.
I believe that it is right to do that. I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think it's confusing. It's not subject to logical arguments, pro or con. It's what you would call an inherent thing. It's a principle that we're starting from.
No. The principle we're starting from is you don't gamble with other people's money. Fucker.
You cannot tell me. I do not recognize your right to tell me whether life is worth living.
Yeah, right, exactly. You can tell me that I will live the life you inject and impose on me, alright? But I can't tell you to stop it. Fuck you.
My tissue now, or whether I can sprout whole new organisms or whatnot. I think that the metaphor is like that of a tree. It keeps sprouting fruit.
Again, he's just going to keep... This is how he's running away from the fact that in the year 2011, you're not a tree sprouting fruit anymore. Alright? You know what condoms are. You know what birth control is. You have complete control over the decision whether there will be fruit or not. You do not just sprout it. Okay? You choose to force it to sprout. So you're just being an invasive little monster of a fucking goddamn... Alright, well, I just call him a troll.
You want to poison the tree and say, well, the tree doesn't really matter, that's just... yeah, you will be stopping the DNA process. And I don't care if you guys feel like you're victimized by it, because you have the right to...
I don't care. See, that's the key word. He's talking about compassion, and he just said it, plain and simple. I don't care. I will do what I want. I don't care if it impacts you. Fuck you!
Do whatever you want to do with your life to change that.
Yeah, the life I didn't want. I don't want to change it. Alright? Why should I have the obligation to fix it? Again, you fucking fart the egg on a pile of dog shit. The egg hatches. It says, what is this shit? And you say, fix it yourself. Fuck you!
To change your situation, change your feeling, or to take yourself out of life, which is somewhat unfortunate, but certainly your personal right.
Oh yeah, again, it doesn't fix the problem, does it? You can't, you've heard this argument, I know it, okay? So don't lie. You've heard this argument, okay? I mean, there's an effective reincarnation game being played here, okay? Sentience continues. So if you don't do something in the present to prevent a future circumstance, okay, that might be negative on a consciousness, then you've essentially let yourself down. You will pay in the future. Alright? There's no free lunch here. Consciousness pays. And it doesn't matter what the name of the person is. So if I sit there and just kill myself, if I jump off this sinking Titanic, it's not going to do me any fucking good. Alright? Because the Titanic is going to keep on hitting the iceberg and keep sinking. Because assholes like you will keep rebuilding it.
I'm concerned. So I am not trying to tell you what to do with your life.
What a joke. You are the imposition. You create the problem and then you point at it and say, fix it yourself. Fuck you.
Okay. And it really, your answers are this gross thing. The discussion is interesting because these are interesting questions. Ultimately, I will make them for me, and you need to make them for you. And I would be disappointed if we were all making exactly the same decision.
Oh yeah, you would be. That's real logical again. So here he is, talks about how he's a logician, and he says there's something logical about people coming to different, completely opposed conclusions. That somehow is something a logician would find comforting and enjoyable. I mean, you are just too fucking retarded. There should be a law that people like you can't use words like rationality and logic because you're such an abusers of them. You shouldn't have authority. You shouldn't be able to come anywhere close to those things because you're basically a principal molester. Alright, you should be labeled as one. We should keep track of you and make sure you don't get anywhere near a principal because you're gonna fucking molest it.
We could all make the exact same wrong one, whereas if we spread out, somebody, even if just by luck, will hit a decent decision. Okay.
Yeah, a decent decision by pyrrho314 standards, which is, if it makes me happy, it's good. If it rolls on your ass, tough shit. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. I learned that from a duck.
The other thing is, while it's interesting philosophically, I believe that the laws of evolution are select for survival.
Oh, okay, so now we're still genetically controlled by natural selection. What a pile of crap. And select for survival. This is an asshole who has actually used words like eugenics. Okay, and now he's saying that this is some kind of thing that people should keep in their minds. That, yeah, we have to genetically select the human race for survival. So, yeah, let's keep them being compliant to the Borg mentality. Let's create more of them genetically that will be acquiescent to corporations, because that's the Borg mentality. No, you fail all over the place, Pyro. Alright, human beings are now in this world philosophically independent. The only people who are mind controlled are in environments where they are information controlled. We are not philosophically controlled by the DNA molecule. We are philosophically controlled by memes and conditioning. Yes, you may be able to propagandize to your children and turn them into the flowery, fluffernutter-brained motherfucking asshole like yourself. But there might be a possibility that that child will escape your propaganda, your theology of bullshit, and think for itself and understand that, yes, you are an asshole, you have an asshole's philosophy, and you are a reckless, irresponsible motherfucking cunt.
Basically, people that don't believe in survival will die. And so that's an interesting factor.
Oh, right. So again, so this is a person I should have some respect for your intellectual competence, even. Not, you don't have any intellectual integrity, but I should even have respect for your competence. You think philosophy is genetic. That if only the people who breed are only the people who think that life is super spectacular, sparkly, that somehow solves the problem. God, you're such an idiot.
And I think that it's fair to point out, and personally, I think as a practical matter, it's worth taking into account. So at any rate, yeah, the final things you just can't decide for other creatures.
Yeah, again, just completely ignore the fact that you're doing exactly that. You're deciding for your kids that life is a risk worth taking. Taking a shot at it is worth it. And yeah, even if it's completely horrible, well, too bad. You can't get a refund from me. I'm not going to give you a refund. Okay, so you're fucked. So take care of it yourself. You're born on a pile of shit, too bad. You're born at Pyro's house, too fucking bad. Live with it. Fuck you.
You know, and you feel like a victim of the DNA.
No, I feel like a victim of idiotic philosophies like yours. It's not a victim of the DNA. Again, you keep blaming a DNA molecule like it told you not to wear a condom. Like it told you not to practice safe sex, rational decision. You made a conscious choice, asshole. Admit it. You made a conscious choice to have kids, or to allow it to happen. It's a conscious choice, not a DNA molecule's choice. It's your choice, asshole.
You can do something about that. I feel like that I am.
Yeah, there are literally millions of people who can't do a motherfucking thing about it. Okay, they're trapped. The system will impose it on them. As I stated, I knew a kid who was born profoundly retarded, had 20-some surgeries, so he could die at 18. Horrible, just horrible, horrible life. He was miserable, absolutely miserable 99% of the time. He was always upset, always struggling to find a way to exist. Just horrible, horrible existence imposed on him by you fuckers.
Fruit of the DNA, that it's part of me, a deep, like the subconscious. And I feel like I can try to double guess it if I say it wants me to reproduce, and I can at least reproduce less or not at all or whatever. That's kind of hypothetical since I...
Oh, blah, 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 blah. I guess I could I could almost maybe think about it. It's almost maybe a decision. Well, let's see. Should I go buy some potato chips for 79 cents at the store, or should I have a baby? Yeah, I don't know. They're complex decisions. They're both about the same, though, of weight. One of them, they're both just equally important decisions. So I'll just make the decision to have a kid. I'll just flip a coin or something. I'll just do what I feel like today. Maybe have a couple of drinks and then decide. Oh, fuck you. So fucking hard.
Of course. But, or eat less, or whatever my urges are, that's a part of the DNA. The DNA has created a brain.
Oh, again, so he's just making more rationalizations for his behavior. Oh, the DNA made me get drunk. Oh, it's not the Twinkie defense. Yeah, Pyro will be famous for the DNA defense. The DNA made me do it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he punched my wife. The DNA punched my wife. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
And that is supposed, but how could that be? Things never contradict themselves. Yes, they do. DNA would create an urge.
The DNA. Oh, the DNA raped that 13-year-old. I mean, this is just such a pile of shit, you fucker.
Create something to contradict it, to give some sort of balance, because extremities, and fanaticism.
Oh yeah, the fanaticism of having to be logically consistent, to take responsibility for your existence and its implications when they're perfectly and quite adequately understandable. You can understand the risk. It's not been hidden from you. Alright, it's right there to be discovered if you care to discover it. You just don't give a fuck. Okay, and that's the bottom line. You just don't give a fuck. Alright, all you give a fuck about is what your fucking stupid, irresponsible, idiotic impulses are. You are too stupid for conversation.
Don't really work in organic systems. So, yeah. The logic isn't...
Oh, it doesn't work in organic systems. See, he just keeps talking like somehow our brains aren't in control. I mean, this is just such a fucking joke. Well, how can you apply responsibility to anyone then, Pyrrho? You really can't make any of your silly little arguments for all this social justice crap if you're going to keep saying you're entitled to be controlled by the DNA. Because then they are. Alright? And they can just use their DNA defense to say, no, I'm allowed to be an exploiter. I'm allowed to be a taker. I'm allowed to be a user. Because I don't have to think with my brain. I don't have to be logical. I don't have to be compassionate. I don't have to be considerate. I can just be a selfish motherfucker just like you.
Nearly as solid as you think. You're not nearly as complete as we would have to be for it to be nearly as worthy of sort of intellectual condescension as you think.
Oh, no, it's not that complicated. Again, you show me how the money you're gambling with is yours. You show me how the new human being is somehow your money. That you feel its pain. You show me how that's real. You show me that you take any responsibility or that you're in any way accountable. That there's any way to provide a refund. You show me how you have bought proper insurance. You show me that before you talk this shit.
And to ultimately, if you can't recognize that my life is my decision, and yeah, that includes everything that
Right, everything, including my right to stick a knife in your head or do whatever the fuck I want. You're just saying that your life somehow extends to my life, that you have a right to impose life on me, to build a Frankenstein. Frankenstein doesn't have a right to get up off the gurney and say, doctor, I think you're a motherfucking lunatic and I'm gonna pop your motherfucking head off. Yeah, I don't have a right to do that as the Frankenstein monster? Fuck you!
My life creates and involves, including new fruit on the tree of life.
Oh, again, another metaphor. I'm going to metaphor the irresponsible act of having children recklessly with some kind of preposterous metaphor so I can rationalize an excuse for my behavior, and I won't even take intellectual accountability for what I've done. I won't take any physical accountability. I won't take any economic accountability. I won't take any other kind of accountability, including even intellectual accountability. I mean, you're just such a fucking weasel.
Okay. So, it's not your place to say. At all.
Exactly.
It's maybe their place to
It's not your place to impose life. Life is serious business. You don't have the creator's license. I have a creator's license. All you have is something signed by a DNA molecule. DNA molecules can't sign licenses. Ooh, that's good. DNA molecules, let me say that one again. DNA molecules can't sign licenses. Okay, so you've got no license. You've got no authority to play this crazy ass motherfucking experiment game unless it's your own brain you're picking at. Until you stick the probe in your own fucking eye, you keep the motherfucker out of me. You fucking cunt.
And it is my place to say I don't have to reproduce. But
Yeah, that's right. You're gambling with somebody else's welfare. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your rights. It has to do with your authority to impose. Impose!
It's not your place to say what I do with my bodily tissue. And,
Again, so now it's a bodily tissue. He's just so distant from reality. He's calling reproduction his bodily tissue. He's not calling it a decision he made not to wear a condom. No, he's calling it his bodily tissue commands it. Like he's been possessed by Pazuzu or something.
You're all pro-choice, and it's really just a pro-choice thing. My attitude is simply, one, consistent with a pro-choice attitude.
Bullshit rationalization for completely irrational, irresponsible, offensive, impositional behavior. You're an obnoxious, arrogant imposer of your will on other people. You suck. You are a goose-stepping DNA Borg member. Fuck you and your DNA board.
In general.
Anyway, enough with this asshole. Yeah, but really, he's just so dishonest. You know, but in Stickham, he'll concede some of these points, and then he'll make these videos like he never even heard them. Like no one even made the argument. He commented on Darwin Hamster's video. He heard the argument. He is still going to claim that he's too stupid to figure out that he's not gambling with his money. That there's no point in saying, I like losing when I gamble. I mean, there's no point in saying that, asshole, because this kind of gambling has nothing to do with you. The only gamble you made is, oh, I hope her vagina doesn't cut my penis off. Oh, I'm pretty sure it won't, so I guess it's okay. That's your only investment. The rest of the money is somebody else's, you dumb cunt. Jesus, you're such a fucking idiot. You're gambling with the pension fund, asshole. Now justify your behavior. Oh, fuck. What an asshole.